Jody Wody.
We live.
All right, folks. Welcome to the TD Report. There you go, Dave. Go ahead and grab it, baby.
Hey, gentlemen. Welcome to the TD Report. I'm your host, David Combs, here with Jody Coleman and TK, Tony Kennedy. How's everybody feeling today?
Hey, outstanding, man. Well, I take that back. I'm not that good, but go ahead.
What happened?
You know
Tell
the
us
Browns
about.
can't. The Browns can't get right, man. They can't get right.
That's every Monday, dog.
This has been an interesting year. A lot of quarterbacks change places. Baker Mayfield goes to Carolina. He's supposed to fix what ails them. The Browns make the big trade. He's supposed to fix what ails them. They've got the defense. They've got the offensive talent. They just need a trigger man to throw the football. Denver think they have a Super Bowl defense. Needed a quarterback. They bring in Russell Wilson. None of this has worked out. But then you look at the teams like the Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson leaves. We feel like we were done with him. That's what the Seahawks franchise says. We're going to go in an out year with Geno Smith, and all he's doing is helping them lead the division. Okay? They're in the hunt. We've been talking on this show about how bad Daniel Jones is for the Giants. The Giants don't make a move for quarterback. They just leave things the way they are. They get Saquon Barkley back healthy. They get their defense going. They have a great draft. They bring in Kayvon Thibodeau. They bring in some offensive line help that they're going to start to develop. And they're in the thick of things. What happened to the idea that a quarterback can come in and fix all your problems? And we'll talk about the Washington Commanders too. Tony, you go first.
Obviously, sometimes we get it wrong. We don't hear all the calls. We don't know the progressions of some of these quarterbacks. We don't know the chemistry with the quarterback and the wide receivers, and actually knowing how much latitude they give to the quarterbacks to run the offense. Like, for instance, in Seattle, it was just time of him looking at Russell Wilson, looking at the system, understanding the talent that he has around him, understanding the chemistry around him, and it just fit. I mean, he had to beat out the guy that they brought in from Denver. We don't even hear about him anymore. And it just fits. I mean, sometimes if you in a system more than 2 years, sometimes it starts to click. You just can't go like Baker Mayfield, 5-6 years in the league, 5 different coordinators or head coaches or systems. And I mean, that's what I see. I mean, think about it. Russell Wilson and the coach for Denver are the only two that wasn't at the team last year. They weren't in. They had nothing to do with that team, or the quarterback had nothing to do with the team. Their head coach wasn't there. Their coordinator wasn't there. Russell Wilson wasn't there. So now we're talking about putting all that together. Before this weekend, Denver's defense was number 1 in points scored, which is the number 1 stat out of all stats. It's
on defense. Yeah, defensively.
Defense.
Yes.
So if you're number 1 defense and you're 3-6, your offense is really shitty.
Tony, if the Denver Broncos offense had been able to put up 18 points, they'd be 8-1 right now. Just 18 points. Yeah. Jody, your boys, the Browns, brought in the quarterback. They made the deal. That deal, by the way, was all that we were talking about all summer. Where's Deshaun Watson going to end up? How long is he going to be out? Is he going to end up going to jail? I mean, there was this whole thing swirling. You guys get him there. He has to sit out. The first 9 weeks?
He got 2 more games to sit. Actually, 1 more game to sit.
1 more game to sit, but he was allowed to practice starting last week.
Yeah.
Okay. It was supposed to be, hey, hang on until we get him and we can make a run to possibly make the playoffs. Is that still a possibility? Let's talk about that.
No, it's not. But to address the question that you started with, this is the effect of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady going to different places and fixing everything that ailed those teams and winning the championship. So this is what this is called. So everybody, you got to understand, those are 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks in NFL history, but everybody thinks that all you need is this particular player. So when you brought up Russell Wilson into Denver, I really believe if they would run the system that fit Russell Wilson, they would be 8-1, but they're not. And Hackett is not a genius at the head coach position.
No.
I think it was over his head. I think you would have been better suited with getting Eric Bieniemy as the head coach because he knew the system. He was in that division. He knows quarterbacks, evidently. I understand that Patrick Mahomes is a bad man. He's the best quarterback in football, one of the best of all time. But Eric Bieniemy has to take some type of credit for this. Not only him, or maybe even Brian Leftwich, another guy that had a quarterback named Tom Brady and won a Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator. I can't remember Nathan Hackett winning a Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator, y'all. Did you? I'm not sure. So, with that being said, that's the effect of two of the greatest of all time to play the position. You can't bring a Baker Mayfield who was a journeyman in. That's what he's going to be. Let's be honest. He's going to be a career backup at this point. Sam Bradford's going to be a career backup at this point. So, I look at the situation of the quarterbacks. It's not about the systems. I believe is it the right fit for those guys. So going back to Deshaun Watson, I really believe Deshaun Watson is going to make a difference in Cleveland because we're 1 or 2 plays away from winning 4 or 5 different games that was missed by the quarterback. No disrespect to Jacoby Brissett because he's having a career year. But he's making detrimental mistakes at the inopportune times of games that has cost us game. Not just him, but the whole team just is miscuing. And when you have that leader at the top like a Deshaun Watson, I think he's going to L a lot of it. It's just not going to be this season.
You also have to think about potentially somebody like a Matthew Stafford. His moving over, to the Rams yielded a Super Bowl last year.
Right.
And they brought everyone back, as many guys back as they could, bringing back Aaron Donald for 1 more year, trying to keep the gang together. Obviously, things didn't work out for them this year so far. They're not the team that they were last year.
So, Dave, the trend since Super Bowl 50, Peyton Manning did it, Tom Brady did it, Matt Stafford did it. Hell, we on Super Bowl 56. I mean, so half the Super Bowls of this, in the 50s were done by exactly what you said. Now, what I don't like is that Denver made a big cut today, and it looked like they're trying to blame Melvin Gordon. Really?
Hold on, Tony. This guy, he has 5 fumbles. 3 of them were in the red zone. And like Dave just alluded to, if they could have just scored 18 points, you telling me it's several games. He fumbled in the week 1 where they lost by 1 point. Come on,
it's costly. He's made some cost. You're right, Jody. He's made some costly fumbles, and he's a veteran. Okay, he is a veteran player. Now listen, Russell Wilson has made his share of his mistakes, but he's got $245 million coming his way. So Russ ain't going nowhere.
Right. But Melvin Gordon, I'm not saying he's a scapegoat, Dave. I'm just saying that when you put the ball on the ground 5 times, like you just said, he's a veteran. He's supposed to be the guy teaching the other guys not to fumble. So when you have a guy and he's fumbled 3 times in the red zone, 3, they're the worst red zone scoring team in the league. So when you have a Russell Wilson who's looking at that big contract, he's pressing because now he feels like he has to make every play, every throw. And that's not his game. If you look back at Seattle, he was able to play freely because the defense made plays for him. This year, he doesn't have really. Let's keep it real. That Denver Bronco wide receiving core ain't as great as we thought they were.
Well, listen, without that running game that he had initially when he got to Seattle, he's not going to be the same guy. He was handing it off to beast mode a lot and relying on that offensive line to push the ball forward a little bit and put him, when he was a rookie and a second-year player, to put him in running downs, 2nd and 2, 3rd and 1, where he could drop back and throw. And then if he didn't have anything, he could run and get you the 2 yards out of a spread formation. And they even worked in some run-pass option, which were really designed to look like a run-pass option, but they were really a read option where he wasn't really reading. He was holding the football out to make it look like a read option to hold a defensive end and then push the ball inside to the running back. What do you think about that, Tony, for X's and O's?
Hold on, real quick, Tony, and not to mention their starting running back Williams is out for the year, so he went out in week 3. He was over 250 yards rushing when he went out, so that's a big loss too.
That's a big. If you don't do that for him, for Russell Wilson at this stage in his career, okay, you're just dropping him back, and at that point, you really rely on your offensive line to protect him. You know, he's not the same. He's not the same guy that he was 8 years ago, right? What do you think about that, Tony?
Well, of course, I always say you got to play people to their strength, and if he's not being played to his strength, now you're just looking at a plain old Jane quarterback who's in his 11th year. I mean, he doesn't look well at all. He doesn't look like the Russ I know. Russ was my favorite quarterback, and
dude was nice.
Now, out there, you know, that's somebody. Now, you done tried to scapegoat Gordon because he's fumbling. Well, then some other people need to be cut too, because you need to cut some damn linemen.
You need to cut a coach. They don't have the coach, Tony.
Some other stuff needs to get done. You're 3-7, and you got rid of the running back. That's fine. What else is wrong? We know it ain't just the running back. It's some of them dudes up top. It's the scheme. These damn receivers ain't running their routes. It got to be something to just one running back that you got to pay a salary anyway for the rest, and then you sign a big deal.
We have to listen. I understand that Gordon wasn't everything, but he is a part of it, and we have to. What did you tell me? What did you guys tell me? No athlete is above criticism. And when you fumble the football, you cannot play in the NFL. You can't play. Tony, you played the position. You think as a rookie, if you would have fumbled, would you had it? If you was a freshman at Virginia Tech, are you playing?
Wouldn't have had a chance. But my point is, if you're going to do it 2-1, then it's a whole bunch of listen. When you point that finger, it's a thumb being pointed right back at you. So if you part of that offense, there's some more people that need to be on the chopping block.
Well, at this point, you know, if you're the Denver Broncos, if you're the Cleveland Browns, you can't scuttle the ship now. You've just got to drag it into port with what you've got, reassess, and then start thinking about next year a lot sooner than you probably would think. You're going to have to start thinking about next year in the next couple of weeks.
Cleveland, I think, is going to have a little bit to play for. I don't think it's going to be the playoffs, but we have to make sure that we invested money in the right quarterback. So we're going to play hard down the stretch. You're going to see the electricity in the locker room when Deshaun Watson goes up under center, because they're going to need him, because you know they're going to boo him like crazy. They're going to call him a rapist. They're going to sorry, I can't say that on there.
You can say that.
They're going to call him everything under the sun. He's going to need his brothers there. And I think this is what's going to band these guys together, because if we don't, we're wasting another prime season for Myles Garrett. We would Denzel Ward, Nick Chubb, those guys, Batoni, Wyatt Tiller, those guys, we're wasting their prime. And we have to get something together. We probably not going to make the playoffs. There's too many stars.
Arguably the best at their positions. And when you named all those people, say they're the best at their positions in the NFL, not just the division. When you start breaking down your team like that, I didn't realize, I mean, hell, when Deshaun Watson left, he was arguably one of the best at his position. You talking about Myles Garrett, you talking about Nick Chubb, you talking about Ward. I mean, you were talking about arguably the best at their positions in the NFL, and you're wasting a year. But the chess move that y'all made is already feeling it for the Ravens, and it's going to feel it for Cincinnati, because you remember, y'all working y'all way up. They got to work their way down. They got to sign that man up top, and then they got to filter it down to see who they want to keep. Y'all already got who y'all want at the base, and then y'all can go and build now and build up. Ravens and Bengals are what we call win it now, because when they pay that man, they don't have to keep Myles Garrett and Ward and
everybody signed.
Yeah, all that. See, NFL's a game. Dave said it when we were talking. He said NFL's a game and you got to win on rookie deals with everybody. You got to outperform that rookie deal. Mm-hmm. Like I sent that stuff to you guys about the defensive lineman that Dallas kept over Gregory. They're paying him 2 years, $12 million. They were gonna pay him 5 years, $70 million. That money that they saved is gonna go into paying Parsons. It's gonna go into paying Diggs. See, everybody said lost Cooper to you guys. Arguably, you got the best route runner in the NFL on your team. So, listen, man, it may seem bleak right now. It may seem messed up, but for the next 2-3 years, you guys are going to be reckoned with because
they should be.
You guys got the right pieces in place, and everybody knows Brisket was terrible. He wasn't. He just wasn't there, and it was frustrating. But
he was a stopgap. He was a stopgap. Just that's what he was.
But what you do is you learn from adversity. See, when you have this kind of adversity that you have on your team, you're going to learn from that. And I see you guys. It's not like people are blowing you out. Nope. I told you, Jody. I said Buffalo got a break by moving that game, and when I saw the pace of that game. And PC people, if you didn't watch the game, Cleveland was up in that game. Cleveland would have been up more if it had been snowing and they would have been playing in that bad weather. They would have drove Buffalo the whole game because they could run the ball, and Buffalo really can't run the ball. So when they moved into the dome, perfect conditions for a fast running team. It
track meet
the whole game. I told you that. See those elements like that. They're going to be around in the playoffs next year. And they're always going to the playoffs. Can you run the ball? Can you run? Can you pressure the quarterback?
Hey, Tony, that's great stuff, man. You reminded me of something when we were all kids. And Jody, you remember this. County Stadium, in Cleveland with that blowing ass snow for them playoff games, man. I used to love that, man. It'd be sleet on the field. I mean, shout out to my man Gerald Ice Cube McNeil. Shout out to Brian Sight, Mac and Biner, Brian Brennan. I mean, that just takes me back, man. Those were fun, man. I'll give you one, Dirk Minifield. Come on. It's crazy. Those old Cleveland teams, that was football. You know what I'm saying? That was like going to see. Shout out to our boy from DC area, Eric Metcalf. A great Cleveland Brown. Bishop O'Connell High School. That's your favorite player. Yo, my cousins ran track against that dude in high school, and I was like, "What was it like running against him?" They was like, "Well, he was running. I don't know what we were doing." I don't think that was. They was like, "I don't think we were running track." Eric Metcalf was running track. We just on a track. We're on a track team somewhere. So, those dudes always used to talk highly of that guy. Cleveland football, it's one of those programs, one of those franchises that the NFL kind of needs to be good. You kind of want a Cleveland to be good. You need a Pittsburgh to be good. That it just seems like football. Right. The way that it was built, the way that we were given this game, watching it as kids. But that's just my take on it. I want to talk about a couple of other games real quick, guys, because I got the book out. Did the Washington Commanders break the Eagles? Because they didn't look good last week. They didn't look good Sunday. That wasn't cute. Them jokers almost messed around and lost to the Colts, bro. 17-16. This will be the second consecutive week. And granted, this was a short week, but the Eagles just didn't look right. Now, I'm not going to say anything negative necessarily about about the Colts or about the Commanders, because this isn't even about them. When you're an 8-0 team going into that Washington game, you've got to feel as though if I put my best out on this field today, it doesn't matter what Washington does. And Washington literally came out there, Tony, and put the paws on. What do you think? It should have been a wake-up call.
Listen, man. I always hark back to the Dallas game against Philly. I know my team. When they play Philly on that Sunday night, Everything was with Philly. They were Sunday night. Their baseball team was rolling. Meek Mill and everybody was in the house. Everything was rolling. They were undefeated. They got out 20-0 on us. But then Dallas did something that I think saved their season. They went and started playing real football. Dallas hadn't played football all year until they played the second half of that Philly game. When they got back there and they just started running the ball. Zeke, 3, 4, tough yards. Then all of a sudden, Pollard was coming in. Next thing you know, we had that thing that's 20-17 with 5 minutes to go in the game with a backup quarterback who turned it over 4 times inside his 40-yard line. When you turn the ball over 4 times to an undefeated team at home inside the 40-yard line, you should be within 21 points.
It's game over. It's game over.
Dallas lose that game. The next week, the Texans run wild against Philadelphia.
They did.
Ran up for 200-something yards against them. Lost the game because they didn't have as much talent. Hey, here comes a divisional rival who doesn't have a quarterback to come and try to prove a point. Had they had Carson Wentz there, they might have been trying to press the ball because, it's something coming back playing your old team and all that. They had to do what Dallas had to do the second half. They just said, you know what? Heineke can't beat them. We played them before. Let's just run the ball. And they just stayed with the run in Philly. Jordan Davis obviously wasn't there. And, we're not taking anything away from Washington. They played
not at all. No.
They played a great game.
They slapped them in the mouth, Tony.
I've seen this division since 1976. And as no one gets out of this division undefeated. Dallas did it last year, and they did it in 07. Those are the only 2 of all the great teams ever. It's only happened twice. And so it's very rare that you're going to get out of that division undefeated. So the odds were with Washington. We haven't been on since then. Hell to those guys for doing a great job and kind of saving the division and saving their season because right now, San Fran lose tonight. Washington's in the playoffs.
Washington started out 1-4, and now they're 6-5.
Yep.
Credit to the Commanders. Credit to the coaching staff. Especially Ron Rivera for sticking with it because you go 5-1 over a stretch in the NFL. That's the whole point. That's what you're trying to do, right, Jody?
Now, Dave and Tony, what did I say since y'all met me? If you can run the ball and stop the run, you have an opportunity to win in this league. I don't care about these fast break offenses with 4 and 5 wide out, and it's all cute. And look at the Chargers. They trying to be cute, and they can't win a football game because they can't run the football. They're 4th from the bottom from running the football. But guess what the Commanders did? The Commanders said, you know what? We're going to run the ball 49 times against this vaunted Eagle defense. I don't care if we're not getting yards. And this is what I always say. It's not about how many yards you get. It's about the attempts because you control the clock. Yeah, I played defense when I was in high school. I played defense. I got tired of tackling that 225-pound running back. I got tired of tackling him. So guess what happens? You got that big bruiser. You got the change of pace back. You got Robertson coming back. I'm glad he did from the legs, the gunshot wound. You got Gibson. They were interchanging. They were running naked bootlegs, and you could do the hard play action off of that. And guess what? The Eagles didn't know what hit them. They had to go sign Ndamukong Suh because we can't stop the run. The Indianapolis Colts, if the Indianapolis Colts had a little bit more talent or a better quarterback, they beat them. So right now, are the Eagles exposed right now? I think potentially they are because I think they have a problem running the ball because I like Miles Sanders, but what I always said is Miles Sanders and Treadwell and Boston Scott are the same running back. They're all the same running back. So when it gets to those games,
no diversity. You need something.
No diversity at running back.
You need a big back. You need a scat back kind of guy. A smaller guy. You need a pass catcher. I see what you're saying.
And it can't always fall on the legs of Hurst. Hurst need to be able to throw that thing. He can't always be the guy. He saved them yesterday. He single-handedly saved them yesterday and won that game. He did his best impression of Lamar Jackson yesterday. And I just don't think he can do that and sustain that toward the course of the season if he wants to make a deep run in the playoffs.
Let's talk about that. You mentioned Lamar Jackson. Hurts is on a rookie deal.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson's on a rookie deal. Out of those two guys, are they both in their current spot? Are they still in their current city next year?
I think Lamar is in his current city based upon because they can franchise him. But I think if they franchise him, I think their relationship is going to go south. And if the relationship goes south, they're going to have to get 2 first rounds or a quarterback in the first round for him. I mean, potential teams. I'm telling you, the dangerous team for him to be at is the team he played yesterday. That team he played yesterday plays defense. He goes to Carolina. It could be some problems out there because
soft division too. Real soft division.
Like tissue.
I mean, listen, if he ends up in the NFC South somehow, it's going to be a problem for some people because the Ravens will allow him to sit if they think they're going to trade him in the AFC. They won't do it.
They won't do it. Yeah.
They won't trade him in the AFC. Now, the other quarterback, Hurts, that's his city. He's not going anywhere.
He's not.
That's his city.
Here's what I'm afraid of. Here's what I'm afraid of with Hurts. The Eagles have draft capital. And if their front office gets the inkling that they've gone as far as they can go with Hurts, he'll become expendable. Go ahead, Jody.
No, I'm sorry, Dave. This is my issue, and Tony, this is my issue. We just named. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there. I'm gonna say it because you didn't say it. We talking about 2 African American quarterbacks that has proven themselves over and over and over and over again. They said these guys can't throw from the pocket. They start throwing from the pocket. These guys can't carry a team. They taking teams that don't belong in the playoffs to the playoffs. Jalen Hurts hasn't won a playoff game yet, but Lamar Jackson did win a playoff game. We're not having these same conversations about Justin Herbert. We're not having these same conversations about Sam Darnold. This guy got another opportunity, and Baker Mayfield getting another opportunity. Andy Dalton. Why is Andy Dalton the starting quarterback in New Orleans?
Andy Dalton is terrible.
Andy Dalton, 137 years old.
Right. And I'm looking at this, and it's like what I still, and this is just me. This is me being a fan, understanding that as hard as Jalen Hurts has been playing for the Philadelphia Eagles, I still don't think they sold on him. That's
the point I'm trying to make. Tony disagrees with us on that.
If you don't think, listen, if Philly is not sold on Hurts, shame on them because that team. Listen, man.
Tony, if they were sold on Jalen Hurts, what year are he in?
This is his 3rd year.
Why they haven't offered one contract? Guess who signed their contract in their 3rd year?
Who?
Josh Allen.
Well,
I ain't heard no money. Because he's a 2nd round draft pick, so he doesn't have that 5th year option. So why we ain't talking about Jalen Hurts signing long term?
But the team right now, Philadelphia has the leverage.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they have all the leverage.
They better not let him go to free market.
They're looking at him to make a mistake, Tony. They're looking for Jalen Hurts to make this mistake so they can say, "Oh, he wasn't the guy. He couldn't do this." Look at him. Look. It's like Kyrie Irving. All this list of demands that they want. It's like black quarterbacks has a list of demands, and once that laundry list of demands is accomplished, then they move the goalpost and they say it's another list of demands. Mm-hmm. They're not sold. Listen, the Eagles are. I don't care what nobody say. The Eagles are not sold on Jalen Hurts because if so, the money would have already been in his account. He can sign an extension right now.
Yes, he can.
3rd year. Have you heard the contract talk, Tony?
No.
No. Dave, have you heard contract talk? So if I'm sold, Lamar Jackson, it blows my mind that all these other quarterbacks that's never won an MVP has deals. So no, I don't believe neither organization, and I don't mean to make this a color thing, but I have to, guys, on this one because it's too obvious. And I'm not even that guy because if you can play, you can play. But we're not having the same conversation about Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow. We're not having the same conversation about Trevor Lawrence.
After the show, I'm gonna go play the lottery. I'm gonna try to hit this Mega Millions because we sending Jody to law school so he can be an NFL agent. I think he'd be great. You trying to get your boy Lamar Jackson paid. You trying to get Jalen Hurts paid.
But Dave, he's won. Name another quarterback. Did Josh Allen win the MVP?
No.
Is Josh Allen second in the NFL interceptions right now with 10?
Yes.
Yes. Davis Mills has not been pulled. He leads NFL interceptions. Matthew Stafford has 8 interceptions, 3 of them taken back for touchdowns.
Ooh.
Aaron Rodgers just threw 3 interceptions. He has 4 interceptions in the red zone. Out of his 7 interceptions are in the red zone. But we're not talking about none of.
He can't play Dallas every week.
Right. Dave, what's up with Derek Carr? He just got paid. This guy's 3-6 with Devontae Adams. But we're not having a conversation, but we're having a conversation about benching Russell Wilson. We have a conversation of not paying Lamar Jackson. We have a conversation. They still are questioning if Patrick Mahomes is the best in the game.
Well,
there'd be no question.
That's a great segue. And by the way, guys, we didn't do a production meeting on Pat Mahomes before the show, and Jody just dropped it in there perfect. Can we talk about that Sunday night game real quick?
Ooh.
Listen, I've seen Pat Mahomes a lot. It's hard to not see this guy. Him and Travis Kelce together, it's like peanut butter and jelly. It's Ashford and Simpson. It's Sears and Roebuck. Bruh, Travis Kelce, look, Mahomes put a ball on Travis Kelce with Asante Samuel Jr. in coverage. He is a cornerback and a very good young corner. I love the guy. Travis Kelce worked him like a part-time job and then took it to the house.
Man.
On an under route, killed him.
Listen, man.
Come on, man.
That little thing that I had with Tommy on this thing about Patrick Mahomes.
All day.
How much is he worth to that team?
He's worth $100 million.
No, he worth $1 billion.
No, he's worth $100 million a season. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say it. That joker underpaid.
Listen, a stat: he's never lost a road division game. Another stat: he's never played a road playoff game.
And he won't.
4 straight years of being in 4
AFC Championship game.
games at home. First team in the modern era to host 4 straight.
About to be 5.
He about to host another one, dog.
Could be 5. But let me pump the brakes on it. Because as we get, we love the moment. We love this moment. Let me tell y'all something. There's something brewing. 2 teams that are brewing that I would not want to play. One is in Nashville and one is in Baltimore. Those 2 teams, is something about those 2 teams and they make up. They are what it takes to beat a Kansas City team. Now, do I think that they are better than Kansas City right now? No. But the way they are brewing and the way that thing is perfectly coming together. Now, Tannehill may not be great. Lamar Jackson, love him to death. He doesn't have the weapons. But they both can run the ball. They both have good defense. And they do a better than average job of getting after the quarterback. So the only thing about Kansas City with me is their secondary and those defense, they tend to take breaks too much. And because they got such a good offense, so they think we okay, our offense is going to score. And that's the only thing that I want to say pump the brakes, because usually when it looks too good, Jody and Dave, it may be a little too good. It may be.
Can I interject for a moment? Because I'm going to go against you a little bit, Tony, on that, because I think that those teams can't beat Kansas City for the simple fact. I don't think Baltimore runs the ball well enough. I think that the most underrated part of Kansas City right now is their front 7. Chris Jones is playing at a defensive player of the year level right now. Chris Jones is playing like a man possessed, Dave. He's playing like a man possessed up the middle. You see how he closed that game out? He the one that made the play to get the interception, that he's not getting enough credit at that D tackle position. I think we know what Patrick Mahomes can do, but we're not talking enough about this rookie running back, Pacheco. That's Pacheco.
Pacheco.
Sorry. Hey, that guy can run the ball. You still got Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the bench. If you need a change of pace, you got two different styles of running backs. You don't have the same thing in Philly. We know that I think Kelsey and Mahomes may be the best tight end quarterback duo of all time. I mean, that's Dan Fouts and Winslow. We talk like they had such a chemistry that it's just unbelievable. But this is what I want to say about last night's game. I don't think as much as, because we know what Patrick Mahomes is going to do. Dave, you know what he was going to do when he got the ball. Tony, you know what he was going to do when he got the ball. But it's about your boy Justin Herbert. He just don't got it. He don't got that moxie that we looking for. And I've been getting on him. I know people like, Jody, you going too hard on this guy. No, I'm not. He had both his receivers was back. Both of his Pro Bowl receivers were back.
And they did a decent job last night.
Decent ain't good enough, Tony. When you talking about a kid that's supposed to be in the Super Bowl, this guy has a losing record as a starter, Tony. He has a losing record as a starter. He has not been in the playoffs, and he's in danger of not making it again this year.
Jody, what time did that game come on last night?
That was a Sunday night game. That was the 8 o'clock.
Can we back up to the 4:25 game?
Oh, Tony, I got you on here, man. Come on, man.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
Let's
welcome to the TD. Welcome to the TD report. Tony is the T of the TD report. So we're going to talk about. No, it's all right. It's all right. We're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Tony, let me set you up.
Kirk Cousins. Oh, okay.
Let me do this. Let me set you up with this, Tony. I'm going to put this out. Oh, we got the Jesse. So I got to ask this question, Tony.
He got exposed.
And by the way, I'm going to say something that might seem disparaging towards my former high school. Shout out to St. John's High School for winning the 2022 WCAC championship over DeMatha, 7-3. But Tony, you remember a few years ago, about 10 years ago, a former DeMatha coach, an assistant, said to me, nobody looks better getting off the bus than St. John's. And we weren't winning championships back then.
They look good.
They look great. St. John's used to look great getting off that bus. Same thing about Dallas. The idea of the Dallas Cowboys is great. They look great getting off the bus, walking through the tunnel. But once you get between the white lines and they blow the whistle, and it's all about football, they aren't the same thing. Why is it, Tony, that they can go 1 week and look the way that they did against Green Bay and then turn a switch and come out and look invincible against the Minnesota Vikings?
Let's get this straight.
Let's do it.
The reason Dallas lost to Green Bay, and I'm going to say it again, is that little running back that came from Ohio State that has gotten more criticism than any other thing, but he is the most important piece to their team because he brings the toughness and he does the job that people don't want to do. If we're up 14 and Zeke is running that ball and we got Tony Pollard doing this to get out the game, that would have been Tony Pollard coming in running the ball, and Zeke would have already been in there pounding away at them dudes. Like Jody said, I'm tired of tackling this dude. Next thing you know, boom, he's gone. We never lose a 14-point lead, but that's okay because we outplayed them up until the fourth quarter, and that's fine.
Questionable calls.
They ain't don't even go, but they needed that. You know the reason why they because they needed to go take their butt up in there and go look at what was considered the hottest team in the league, and they were. The report, the score was 40-3 up in their place. They had lost like that at home since 1962. They had lost like that since the goddamn Kennedy administration. So don't hear me with no crap. We went up in there and smacked the whole shit out of them. Kirk Cousins wasn't on no plane, all this shit and all that stuff with his chain. He wasn't on no plane doing that.
Hey, listen, I'm not a Cowboy fan. So this is coming from a very non-biased perspective, Dave. This is the best Dallas has looked in a long time. And what I mean by that, this, the Cowboy fan, no disrespect to you, Tony, but I'm around a lot of Cowboy fans that's very delusional, and they say this is our year every year. We them boys, this is really the season because and I'm no disrespect to anybody, but the down talent in the NFC. Let's be real. It's not a lot of talented teams because we see that the Cowboys can beat the Eagles. The Cowboys can beat, matter of fact,
they should have beat them. They should have beat the Eagles the first time.
And the Eagles may lose to the Giants
with a backup quarterback.
They may lose to the Giants too. The Giants is the team that nobody talking about this, still doing anything. But the way that Dallas is built, me and Tony talked off in the production meeting about running the football. Now they got a quarterback that if they need to, what do you always tell me, Tony? When you got a quarterback, it's all things are equal. The quarterback can make a play.
The quarterback is the one that can be different.
Dak Prescott can throw the ball and make every throw on the field that Cooper Rush couldn't do.
Fucking throw.
So we know, and CeeDee Lamb is he don't look as bad as he looked early in the year. He's starting to look like a developing receiver.
He's starting to catch his stride. And I mean, in this division that has quite a few very good receivers, a couple of them in Philly, you got a couple of good young receivers, especially Terry McLaurin here in the nation's capital. Mm-hmm. Terry McLaurin has the looks of a top 10 wide receiver in this league right now.
His numbers reflecting. His numbers reflect it.
His attitude reflects it. Look, I feel as though a Terry McLaurin or CeeDee Lamb type of guy, right, has a very good opportunity to be very, very good in this league. Mm-hmm. And I think that CeeDee Lamb is just now starting to grasp it. Because he started his career in the league in the shadows, of a very good wide receiver when he got to Dallas, when he got drafted. Okay. Well, Amari Cooper was there. So when you look at what Terry McLaurin had to deal with coming into the league, Terry McLaurin basically, he wasn't handed the role of being a number one receiver. It was just, hey, kid, you want the job? Okay, that's cool. And he has embraced it and continues to get better. What I think the mistake that Washington might have made was thinking, hey, if we get a marquee quarterback in here instead of Taylor Heineke, throwing him the football, maybe that will make his numbers go up. No, that isn't it. What the Washington Commanders need to do is just keep winning. Okay. Terry McLaurin's numbers are going to take care of themselves. You see what I'm saying? I think he's that type of receiver. I think he's that type of resourceful. Am I off base here?
No, you're actually correct. Can I ask a question to you guys? Can y'all answer? Can we just go ahead and say that Carson Wentz just not a good quarterback?
He's damaged goods. I'll say he's damaged goods. When he was healthy in Philadelphia, before that injury, that fateful injury against the Rams, where I felt that Philadelphia was headed to the Super Bowl with Carson Wentz as quarterback. But what it turned out, they were headed to the Super Bowl without him as quarterback. Okay. I thought he was the most valuable player in the league. They were what were they at that point, Tony, in the year? Were they 6-2, 7-1?
They was like 11-3, 11-2. No,
11-2.
They were like 10-2 or something
10-2,
like that.
I think.
They were literally on a march. Yeah. They looked like a Super Bowl team. Mm-hmm. You lose a franchise quarterback like that. But honestly, guys, my opinion, after watching him in this division all these years, even before he got to Washington, he don't look right. Something's not right with him in terms of how he is in the pocket. And he just seems like he's always trying to play hero ball. And that's just been my number one beef with him. And he doesn't have the goods to do it anymore. You see what I'm saying?
Or Dave, maybe just not good.
No, he was good. Good.
We know a lot of quarterbacks that was good in the first couple of years of their career that they laid an egg. Sam Bradford had some good years too, Dave.
I'll tell you what, give Doug Peterson one more year with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. And then let's talk about the type of coaching that Carson Wentz was getting when he got into the league, because that was his coach. I felt like one of the biggest moves in the league was Trevor Lawrence getting out from under Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars finding, let's be honest, finding Doug Peterson on a scrap heap. They literally got a Super Bowl winning coach on a discount.
Right.
It was a discount. You didn't have to fight Philadelphia to wrest him away from them. Philly had already gotten rid of him.
Yep.
I think that was the best thing. And honestly, if you're Trevor Lawrence, when Trevor Lawrence has a child, if it's a son, you better name that joker Doug, because he might have saved that kid's early career.
But I want to say this, and I'm sorry if I'm overspeaking my bounds or whatever, but when you pick a quarterback with the second pick of the draft, the whole idea of getting a quarterback that high is everything doesn't have to equal up and be perfect. That's why you get a quarterback that high in the draft, so he can cover up some of the mistakes of coaching, of different systems. When you go get a Peyton Manning, if everything has to line up perfectly, why do you got to draft him so high and pay him so much money? That's why I'm not knocking Carson Wentz, but I mean, this the eye test, guys. The eye test, no matter what his numbers are, the eye tests are saying this guy can't really lead a football team right now. Maybe if he goes, and he's going to get another opportunity, because I mean, if the Commanders are smart, we're going to roll with Taylor. But my thing is, when you draft the quarterback that high, why does everything has to be perfect?
Well, I won't say he's got to be perfect, Jody. But what I will say is,
like everything around him has to be perfect.
I would say this. This has been the year, as we alluded to earlier in the show here on the TD Report, where I opened it up and said, listen, this was the year of plug in a quarterback, and let's win some games. And for so many teams, it just has not worked. I will say this. It is a puzzle piece. I will say this. Sub out Carson Wentz for any of the other quarterbacks that made the move. Put Russell Wilson here instead of Carson Wentz. And I think Taylor Heineke won't be playing right now. And I don't mean disrespect to Taylor Heineke. I just think Russell Wilson would have been in better shape to take this job as opposed to a stationary target like Carson Wentz. That's my only point. I'm not saying that I don't think it would have necessarily worked to where they're 7-2 or 6-3, but I think that would have worked out better. I think the system might have worked better between Scott Turner, the offensive coordinator, and Russell Wilson. Now, we've got an ego. There's a lot of swirling around about Russell Wilson's ego and how he wants to be coached and how he wants to have control of this or control of that. I don't know, but I just think that out of all those quarterbacks that switch places, one of those quarterbacks out there would have fit better here. And then maybe Carson Wentz would have fit better somewhere else, like the island of misfit toys. I just don't think that Carson Wentz fits here. The Christmas, remember the Christmas thing? I used to love that one, man. But no, am I wrong? He didn't fit here.
Right.
It was a whole island full of them joints, man.
Yeah, it didn't fit here. He's Baby New Year with the big ears, man. It just didn't work.
Well, let me tell you, they were trash. Zach Wilson, trash.
Whew.
Matt Ryan, trash.
Well,
New Orleans, trash. Baker Mayfield, trash.
He's done.
Bad quarterback play yesterday. It was horrific. So I don't want to hear all these this and that. What I did see on Saturday was the number one player in the draft, and I was live there at Maryland. If C.J. Stroud isn't taken by the Texans, they need to fire that black you-know-what down there in Houston. They need to fire him right away if he's not the first player taken, because Houston's going to be drafting first. I saw the best quarterback, the best eligible quarterback to go in the draft is C.J. Stroud. I saw him.
Well, you're going to have the Houston Texans having to make that decision. They're going to probably do it. They're going to have to. I watched the Commanders go down there. The Commanders had more fans in Houston in that stadium than the Texans did. Honestly, it was the Texans players' wives and their mamas in the stands, and that's it.
And they
it looked like you know what, Tony? You know what it looked like? It looked like a Glen Arden versus South Bowie football, 8 and under, and it was raining. So only moms and dads was out there. It might have been 40 people for their team.
But you know what? What they with the Texans, and I hope they give Lovie Smith the opportunity, because I do believe the Texans play hard. Because once again, they play extremely hard, but they have no talent down there. And I
None.
mean, but this is the beauty of them right now. They have Cleveland's first round pick. They're gonna be picking 2 in the top 10.
Well, look, Jody. Looking at what some of the NFL analysts were saying, just the analysts, they said it might be the worst front seven ever.
Where?
Ever.
At Houston?
They said it might be the worst front seven ever.
And who did they tie? The Raiders?
No, they tied the Colts.
They tied the Colts.
Remember, they tied the Colts first game of the season.
Yeah, it was the first game of the season. That was a tie.
They tied the Colts, but somebody.
But they beat Jackson. Did they beat Jacksonville?
They beat Jacksonville.
But see, my thing is they got a running back. This kid, Damian Pierce, is the real deal at running back.
If I'm Damian Pierce, I got to get out of Houston.
No, I don't think so.
They're gonna run that boy's legs off his body. Okay, get out of there.
If they can draft properly with all these picks they got, because Cleveland gave them a boatload of picks. I think they got an extra first round, they got an extra second, I think an extra fifth. If they can pile up and get a good GM in there, because Daryl Stingley Jr. has panned out. He's not as good as
he's a legit star in this league. He's not
good as Sauce, and he's not good as Woodley. He's not as good as those two, but he's right under there, and I think he's going to get better. So I just think we got to be patient with Houston, and I think that if the GM come in and really draft properly, I think Houston will be back quicker than we think.
Well, I'll say this. I look at what Houston's picks are going to be. Remember what I talked about at the draft 2 years ago, Tony, when we did the draft show. If I see a quarterback come off the board and I don't see a stud in that A gap, because they have tackles. That's the one problem they have. Houston Texans have good tackles. Mm-hmm. It's the guard to guard and up the middle, that A gap that sits right in the quarterback's lap. That's where they have the problem. If I don't see a top guard, if I don't see a top center, if I don't see legit dogs playing in that A gap, a team like Washington, who has invested heavily in the A gap with a Jonathan Allen, and with a Daron Payne, those guys going to be tough to run on for the next few years, especially when they sign Daron Payne to a long-term deal. They're not he ain't going nowhere.
They better not let go.
If he ain't bought a house out in Ashburn somewhere, go on and buy the house, dog. You ain't going nowhere for at least 4 years.
An unrestricted free agent.
They better sign this joker, because if he hits the open market, somebody's going to do something crazy. Somebody's going to put, if you're Washington, you cannot let somebody put a number in front of him that either you can't beat or that you are afraid to pay.
He's not going to sign anything during the year because now
he wants to up his market value.
So you're going to have to, it's going to be a bidding war for him. How high are you going to go?
Washington cannot allow, but Tony, you cannot allow this to become a bidding war.
But they have an opportunity. Didn't sign him at the beginning of the season.
That's trouble.
But they got an opportunity to pay a lot of guys. They haven't paid the quarterback.
I'm sorry. I got to jump off and take care of this real quick. I know we're at 53 minutes. Let's do this one thing real quick before I go. Tony, you and I have talked about, we're going to switch subjects real quick. Sorry, everybody, here on the TD Report. UVA football and the Virginia Tech game. Last game of the season, UVA, because of the shooting, canceled their game with Coastal Carolina from last week, and they're not going to replay that. But now there's talk about potentially either canceling the Virginia Tech game or moving it. What's the next move? What's the next move with this?
It looked like it's going to be the weekend of the championship game weekend.
December 3rd?
That third weekend, December 3rd. So it looks like it's going to be that weekend. I propose then that we all see this VT, Virginia Tech for who, and I propose then we have a special thing on our campus where we all run out the tunnel. I proposed then that the humanitarian thing would be to do was to take both teams and have them run out together, kind of like soccer does at the beginning of the game.
I think that's a good idea. I like that.
Come out and be introduced to the crowd together. That because it's bigger than football. I think that will send. I just think it's the right thing to do based upon the situation that those guys are in. It doesn't matter. Y'all rival, whatever. That's football. This is life.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
And in life, that guy next to you is your brother. Even though you're trying to beat his butt for the next 3 hours, that's still your brother. And Virginia Tech will move a lot of things to see people come. And what I said to you guys, if you know history, World War I, they had what they call little bunkers where they would shoot each other. They would fight each other. And in World War I, they were so scared and they were in their bunkers that it got quiet one night and one of the guys started singing Christmas songs. This was Christmas Eve. The other people on the other side started singing Christmas songs. They put down their guns, came to the middle, and they partied and drank and celebrated Christmas like they were a family, and they were rivals. If they can do that and they end up killing each other, then what is running out of damn tunnel for a stupid football game? How is that even not thought of?
Tony, you bring up a great point. The Army, it reminds me something similar to what you see at the end of the Army-Navy game. Every year, Army and Navy march onto the field separately, go to their separate sides. The Corps of Cadets and the Brigade of Midshipmen, right? And it's one of the most amazing spectacles in sport. But what's even more amazing is after the end of the game, no matter who wins or loses, both teams stand on the field together and sing their respective alma maters, right? Because at the end of that game, especially obviously the seniors are getting a little envelope that tells them what armored tank division they're going to be in, what aircraft carrier or sub they're going to be on. And my cousin went to the Naval Academy, he ran track. But at the end of his senior year, that's literally what happens after graduation. It's like the end of Top Gun. Hey, guys, you need to put your drinks down because you're getting your assignment as to where you're going to go and fight for this country. Similar thing with UVA and Virginia Tech. I think they should come out of the tunnel together in some kind of way, some kind of joint way to do it. The question is going to be the logistics. So for us here on the TD Report, again, our condolences, to the families of the fallen. 3 young men lay dead. They're being laid to rest this week. They've had the vigil at UVA. It was very emotional, obviously. Anybody that wants to watch it, you can catch it on YouTube. I'll get you guys a copy so you can look at it. But what I want to say to everyone here is that no matter what UVA and Virginia Tech decide to do with this game, this is about life. And we all got to come together some kind of way. This cannot happen again on another college campus, guys. I don't care who does it, okay? Football player, non-football player, male, female. College should not be about this, okay? College should not be about mourning. There are kids at UVA right now. They're going to be taking exams in about 3 weeks. The exams, I think, are December 7th. And all you want to do in college when you get these exams is you want to do the best you can on them and get on a bus, get on an airplane, get in a car, wait for your folks to come pick you up so you can go home for Christmas. And there's going to be, 3 families that aren't going to have their young man home for Christmas. And my heart can't go out anymore to those people. Let's start caring about each other out here in these streets, man. This is what it's about. Okay. I'm not saying you got to be Sir Galahad. You don't have to break up the fight or anything like that, but let's just try to be good to each other. And, we as adults, we as leaders in the community, coaches, mentors, talk to these kids, talk to these young men and women. Hey, man, Don't go to a party and get in a fight. Just walk away, or whatever the situation is. This situation at UVA, what happened was horrific. It was absolutely horrific. And one of these young men actually went back on the bus to try to save people's lives. And he was injured. He's lucky to be alive, and took numerous bullet wounds. And honestly, as a father, you want to be proud of your son, but at the same time, you got to say to yourself, you could have been killed on there. You weren't wearing Kevlar. You're not Superman. These bullets hurt. These bullets kill. So again, from all of us on the TD Report, I want UVA and Virginia Tech to make this right and do the very best they can to show the world that it's about life. Tony, very good stuff there. Jody, as usual, excellent takes. And we're gonna pray for your Browns a little bit too, man. Y'all need some help.
Yeah, we need more encouragement. But I didn't get an opportunity to be on the show for the UVA and Tech, and me being a father of having 2 kids in college, I can only imagine. So it hurts me even thinking about it, because I got a son in Texas in school and I got a daughter in Michigan, so I'm nowhere close and I can't protect them. And I bet every parent wanted to protect their kid and they couldn't. And it just is. It is. I'm gonna get off right now because I'm just feeling what they felt as a parent, and I'm sorry. And I hope, forget the football game. If it don't play it, so what? So my heart do go out to those having 2 kids in college, and it could have happened to any of us, any of our kids.
Any of our kids. So on that point, hey folks, happy Thanksgiving for our man Jody here. The game is on from Mexico, is San Francisco versus Arizona. But happy Thanksgiving, Jody. If you're available, we're gonna be on Thanksgiving night. We're gonna come on and kind of recap the day. We got Buffalo kicking off against Detroit. You got Dallas and the Giants. And leading up to the big game at night, Minnesota Vikings versus the New England Patriots.
I'm back Thursday, Monday. I'm not gonna miss no more. I just had to work. I'm back.
Thanksgiving night. Come on.
I'm back.
We'll be on Thanksgiving night, brother. All right.
All right. Peace.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Hey, we're gonna be on fried turkey. I'll come on live.
No doubt. Peace.